And yes, we are here once again, finally, for the start of my Survivor 50 podcast sort of thingamajig that I'm doing. So as you guys know, there's a little season out. It's called Survivor 50. Kind of small, not something anyone's that interested in or anything like that. Definitely not like the most anticipated Survivor season in a long time. But yes, in all seriousness, Survivor 50 is starting off. I intended to do this video last week, but unfortunately, my guests that I was going to have on had a lot of scheduling conflicts and things like that, so I just wasn't able to get it done. But the good thing is finally happening now. This was initially supposed to be a video about episodes 1 to 2 because there have been 2 episodes, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. But rest assured, I do in fact have a guest with me, and it's someone that you might have seen on this. I don't know if you've seen him on this channel before, but you saw him on another channel that I don't use anymore for reasons. But anyway, here he is. It's the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Jones.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Really excited to have you on here. It's kind of funny too because I intentionally went into this because if you guys don't know, we're not just talking Survivor 50 in this video. We're also going to be doing something where basically after we talk about every single episode, we're going to also be dissecting one of the cast members because if you know, I haven't watched a lot of Survivor, despite the fact I podcast about it and things like that. I've really only watched since the new era has started, so there's a lot of context and things like that that I just don't have when it comes to this cast, when it comes to this season. And so the best way for me to rectify that is by basically not just talking about Survivor 50, but talking about the lead up to Survivor 50. And I specifically set up talking about Jenna here. And it's pretty funny because I know you recently watched Borneo as well. So I was like, perfect. It's even better that you're going to be here. I guess I'll just get into it, man. What was your anticipation like going into Survivor 50? If you want to talk about, how long you've been a fan of Survivor, all that kind of stuff, just go right ahead.
So, not to date myself here, but I watched Borneo as it aired when I
God
was
damn.
7 years
Yeah.
old. So, I am definitely an OG to the franchise.
Nice.
Even though I recently watched Borneo, yes, little 7-year-old me was watching it back in the day, not knowing what the hell
Yeah.
was going on, just thinking it was cool. So going into 50, there was just a lot of hype for me. I was super excited. I know there was a lot of people with the cast were a little There was some mixed bag public wise about the cast, and I'm always kind of take the wait and see approach with returning seasons because obviously there's going to be people that we want to see. There's going to be snubs. There's going to be this and that, but I tried to be optimistic. I tried to get the wait and see. And as the trailer started coming out, the hype grew, and going to the premiere, I was just like, okay, I need to get out of work on time. I need to get home because I cannot miss this. And so the hype was definitely there. And as they started dropping those trailers, I think they had one retrospective trailer that kind of just was like a 3-minute recap of the franchise and just the nostalgia that went with it. It was just super, super exciting. So the hype was there. The hype was definitely there.
Yeah, no, I mean, even for me, someone who, like I said, has only really watched like the new era seasons, and now I can say I've watched the first 2 seasons of the show. I even had a lot of anticipation going into this because I mean, this is such a huge deal. The past, 9 seasons, it's basically been, as much as I did enjoy it for a while, it was starting to feel a little bit stale. It kind of felt like we were doing the same thing over and over again. So I think it's good that finally we have a season that is fully embracing like the old and the new. I feel like old Survivor, we just don't hear about it that much anymore. It's kind of like old Big Brother, where it's like, them bring back Rachel Riley for like Big Brother 27 and things like that. It's very similar to that, where it's like you're acknowledging a part of a show that we barely even really talk about anymore. And it really just does a great job of like showing your legacy, how much things have evolved, but also reminding us of like why Survivor is where it's at. And I think that, this season definitely had the potential to do that. And I mean, I'll just say it right now, out of the premieres of Survivor that I watched, this is hands down my favorite premiere. Oh my God. I mean, you want to talk about just 3 hours of insane gameplay, so many interesting setups to different conflicts throughout the season, some really great strategy. Episode really just kind of had it all, and I really just can't get any more excited for the crazy ride this season is about to take us on. So really excited to get into it. But what were your initial thoughts when it came to this premiere?
So for me, the bar has always been heroes versus villains for premieres.
That's what I've heard.
Just the setup of
I gotta watch that season, obviously.
them flying in on the helicopters and you really just getting hyped up for like these are some of our favorite players coming in. It gave that one of them coming in on the ship and just seeing, your classic characters, your coaches, your Cerise, even like the new era players who have been kind of carrying, the cues. I know Angelina's not new era, but her as well. Christian, just all these people that we've been excited to see play again, as well as some of the classics. I do think the cast did a good job of mixing a little something for everybody. If you're an old school fan like me, you had reps from the early seasons. Could there have been more? Maybe, maybe throw a Jerry Manthe in there, or
you could
have got Amanda Kim. Yeah, you could have got Amanda Kimmel in there. There's obviously the snubs, but for me, seeing the nostalgia of seeing, Jenna Lewis and Colby, who, I watched as a kid, on the screen again, and then seeing, as I grew up with the show, these people that I grew up watching, seeing them come back, it was cool. It was really cool to see. So them coming in, it was like there are moments like, the heroes versus villains, them coming in on the ship, winners at war, the 20 winners on the barge with Jeff, just kind of those moments when the show kind of acknowledges, like you said, it acknowledges its history and it shows, that this isn't just, my issue with the new era sometimes is things just feel very contrived and fast paced. And it's just like, okay, we're here. All right, challenge, new it good. Then it's just very rinse and repeat. It's just nice to see the show take a minute to acknowledge its history, because you don't get to 50 seasons by accident, and you don't get to 50 seasons without a stellar cast. And these people, most of these people, if not all of them, played a big part in that. So.
Oh, sorry. I'm just texting something real quick. Okay. Yeah. No, for me, I'm very much in the same boat. Like I said, I think this was a fantastic premiere, but we're just going to go ahead and get into it. So the way I like to do this, since I don't know if you've watched my Survivor reviews and things like that, I like to break it down tribe by tribe, kind of talk about everything that's going on. And we're just going to go ahead and do that here. So we start off with basically, first confessional here comes from Stephanie. We see Mike White gets the second one. I think it's very important to recognize who gets confessionals at this point, because it usually is an indicator that they're going to go pretty far, which I found it very interesting that Stephanie got the first confessional. So, I mean, I always think about Carolyn in 44 and Kenzie in 46. Those are two right off the bat that I got professionals right away. So it was I think that's something to kind of focus on. And then also we get Matt chats. They were with Jenna, Mike White, Suri, and Coach. And I don't know if you think there's any significance there. Obviously, we know why one of them did.
There was a few seasons in the new era started where everybody Jeff talked to on the mat was going to be the final three. I know it was season, I believe, from 41 to 44, maybe 45, but the three people Jeff talked to. I think I'd like to think hopefully they picked up on those things and stopped it, because like you said, for every Carolyn and whoever else you said of the world, there's a Say who was hugely featured in the start and then didn't even make jury. So I hope for a season like this they wouldn't try to telegraph things that much.
Yeah, because there have admittedly been quite a few spoilers out there, which thankfully are wrong so far. So let's hope that continues to be the case. But we see everyone then opens their buffs. They figure out what tribe they're going to be on. And then we get to the big twist of the season, which is in the hands of the fans. And I say that with quotes because I think this is a bunch of bullshit at this point. I think it's pretty clear that a lot of the things that the fans apparently voted on, they didn't really vote for. Because what the fuck do you mean fans voted for them not to have rice and supplies? I don't buy that that's the case. I feel like that's something that people have consistently said, that is something that they have not been liking about the new seasons. And I just, what do you think about that? Do you feel like there's some truth to this?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I think you probably did see like a fair share of casual fans coming
Yeah,
in.
that's a good point.
You know, and I think that one, I mean, for me personally, like I don't really care
Yeah.
if they have rice. And I think in this new era of 26 days, like I think you're fine. You'll be okay. Like so me personally, like I think I clicked that one. Like, I don't even remember what I voted for that one, but like, I just don't care about that one. It really
It was
doesn't.
definitely one of the less like important ones. I feel
Yeah,
like.
I mean, and there's some things where I feel like, okay, so like I love wrestling, for example, and they've done these fan votes where it's like you get to pick who this person wrestles, and there's three options, but two of them are really freaking stupid. So obviously it's like there's a vote, but they're kind of like swaying you to vote for a certain something that they want you to pick. But this one, I can't see it. Well, there's another one down the road we can talk about that I'm kind of like, I don't know what the hell they were talking about. I don't know if you want to I can just say it now.
No,
but
we'll talk about it. We'll talk.
Yeah,
about
there's one that I'm just like, I don't even know what the hell I was picking or what the hell was the weight behind it, but I think you know what I'm talking about, but we'll get into that.
Yeah. So we get to the marooning challenge here. Basically, one person has to dig and crawl under a beam to retrieve a key. The next person is going to use the key to unlock paddles. They're then going to unload the rope from a boat. While two players paddle the boat to a platform, retrieve a locked torch before paddling back to shore. Two more players are going to retrieve that key from atop a tall pole and use it to unlock the torch. And then the first team to light said torch is going to essentially win their flint. We see Vatu is the one to win the challenge. They've won their flint. Do we have any thoughts on the marooning challenge?
I mean, again, we go from the Bard, them coming in, this kind of epic, to kind of just straight into the new era cliche of challenge, which like I'm fine with because you know what, this is a big group of people. We kind of got to get things rolling here. I'm fine with it. I mean, seeing, Ozzy being Ozzy, seeing Coach, using all that life experience in a kayak, if you know. It's cool to just watch people get right into it that we haven't seen do challenges for a while. I mean, I was fine with it. Vatu winning, I'm surprised because on paper, I thought this was going to be the disaster tribe just with some of the personalities on there. I thought they were going to be the shit show, but
for sure
they pulled out the win right off the bat. So, good for them. But marooning challenge, I mean, I'm fine with. I mean, they've done these things before where it's like, get all these things off the truck or get all these things off the boat. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah, no, I think this was a fun way to kick things off, especially, it's just a staple of the show at this point. But this is where things do get interesting because we find out that in order for them to obtain supplies, one member from each tribe is going to have to go on a journey to retrieve them. Coach is selected for Kahlo, which means Ozzy wants to be selected for Sela.
Well, Coach wasn't selected. It was Camilla being like, Coach, I think you should go.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
And it's Coach. He's not going to say no to that.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was very much like Camilla just being like, Coach, come on, you can do it. And Ozzy's like, I guess I have to do it. Yeah.
You're the warrior, Coach. Come on.
Yeah. And then Q does it, I feel like, just by sheer virtue. Like, just why not? Like, I just want to see that mess between like Coach and Ozzy. And I don't blame it all because it must have been something to watch, which we'll talk about that. But
well, that was kind of Q's MO on his season though in the tribe phase. Him wanting to be the guy who'd be in the quarterback that wanted to carry everything.
And, not to get too ahead of ourselves here, but I actually do think that might work for Q this time around. He's got a lot of chaos going on, and I feel like he recognizes like what he needs to do in terms of like strategy and things like that this time around. And I actually do think that it could potentially end up working out, but we'll have to see. So we're going to talk about each tribe before we get to the challenge between Ozzy, Coach, and Q. So first off with Vatu, we get some good insight here. And one of the things I really do love about this premiere, I got to say, is that because we have 3 hours, there isn't really a player in this episode that doesn't get at least something. Even someone like an Angelina, who's really not in this show that much so far, we still get this moment from her where she talks about how, like, yeah, I want to use this opportunity to kind of prove that, like, she's not just gonna be messy. She wants to try to show this different Angelina. I don't know if this is really gonna go anywhere, but I like that we at least get to see some insight. I feel like often what we've seen, especially in recent seasons, is that there's a lot of stuff that's being left out, that it's like very important context that we're not getting. I don't feel like that's been the case so far with this. I think they've done a pretty good job of like diving into everything.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like you saw even things like kind of like a lesser thing, like when you get to the, I know we're skipping ahead here, but getting to the Callow tribe, you'd see like
Yeah.
the Camilla Tiffany D alliance. So you did
Yeah.
kind of see things breaking down. And I can't remember when it happened in the episode, but you see like the conversation between Genevieve and Aubrey of them talking, and then the dynamics of that. You saw kind of the Stephanie Colby, pre-existing relationship of we played heroes versus villains, so them kind of feeding off each other there, of having something there. You'd see the relationships between, you see Kyle doing his thing, so you really did get to see everybody get something, whether it was 5 confessionals explaining their game, whether it was a little thing here.
Exactly.
And it's good to see everybody get something, because you see the direction every player could go this season, as opposed to what happens sometimes. And I do feel like they do
last season.
Last season, yeah, but I do feel like they do a better job with this nowadays, because you feel like, okay, at least I know something about these people, versus going 7 episodes and all of a sudden they pop up and you're like, who the hell is that? I know it's a returning season, so I already know them, but I feel you can kind of look at everybody and where their game could go, whether it does or not, but you get an idea of like what they want to do this season.
Yeah, and especially for me, someone who hasn't seen a lot of these people play, I feel like I got what I needed to here. Obviously, I'm still going to, watch their seasons and stuff, but I feel like they did a good job here, where it's like, if you're jumping in, like, this is a good, like, point to start. So we have this moment with Stephanie. She's really excited to see Colby on their tribe. They have this unspoken bond, and they've not really interacted much apparently since Heroes versus Villains, but it was strong enough to where she feels that he is someone that she can trust, and they talk a little bit. And how do you feel about Stephanie and Colby so far? Do you feel like this is like a locked in thing that's like, going to be something?
I mean, how coy are you about spoilers for other seasons?
I mean, we'll talk more about it when we talk about Colby tomorrow. But
are you okay? You're cool with it?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I mean, they haven't talked much since Heroes versus Villains. I don't know how much in the 6 days they played together that the relationship really formed. But I mean, when you're in a situation,
I knew he didn't go far. Like that's not.
When you're in a situation where you don't know anybody else, and I don't know, and I mean, apparently Colby really was studying the game and trying to be a student of it. If there's one person there that I have anything with, I'm globbing onto that person the second I get there. So, do I think it could possibly be a long-term thing? Maybe. One thing, I mean, knowing Stephanie, she will cut somebody and is not the best at the game sometimes, but I think if you're in that situation, they're not as obvious of a pair that I would look at as some other people potentially in this game. So, they played together, but did they really? And so, I think it could be something, but I think they would need a little bit more there.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll have to see where this really goes. So they basically talk, and Colby immediately brings up how much he enjoys Kyle and Genevieve, but he really can't stand Rizzo. Colby finds him to be really annoying, doesn't really have the work ethic at 25 that he needs. He's going to be this real liability to the tribe. This gave me major like Corey Heisem vibes in like Big Brother 25, where it's like this very like one-sided thing where Colby just can't stand Rizzo for like these very like just kind of trivial reasons, but he just can't stand him while Rizzo's not seeing it. But it doesn't necessarily go in that direction. But this was definitely something that like early on I was like, oh God, this might be a problem if like they're gonna be not on the same page.
Well, I mean, Colby being a 50-something-year-old man, being around the Gen Z, the person talking about Riz and 6'7" and cinema and all that. I'm sure, I think on paper, it would be very annoying. And it's, so, and again, I think one thing, I think Colby kind of does still have that old school mentality of working around camp, and we have to build the shelter and we have to get firewood. We have to do this. And I just don't think you really and I think especially with how fast paced the game is nowadays, why am I going to waste my energy building a shelter when we could swap in like a day or so? Like
Exactly.
look back at last season, for example. I think it was the Yellow Tribe. They won like this hammock reward and they swapped the next day. And Rizzo was the person who didn't win them and then went there and said, we didn't even win these and we get to enjoy them now. So it's like, I just don't think there's an emphasis on like the camp work ethic now, but some of these old school players, I think they value that still. And it's just, it doesn't really matter as much in the new era.
No, exactly. I think in the beginning stages, and especially now having watched like the first 2 seasons, definitely in the beginning stages, it made a lot of sense why camp life was important, because you're putting a lot of these players in this environment they're not like familiar with and things like that. But I think, they're going to the same island every single time at this point. They know their way, especially the returnees, like they know their way around there. It's not really that important. And so again, like I said, I think a lot of this was very trivial, none of the less very funny to watch. Now, a big character throughout this. Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, a big character throughout this entire episode is Kyle, for good reasons and bad, of course, that we'll talk about. But Kyle comes in, as one of the 3 winners in this game, and is immediately like basically handed this alliance on a silver platter, where Colby and Kyle are like openly talking about potential allies. They bring up Stephanie, they bring up Genevieve, and Kyle pretty much hits the ground running here. He talks about how, the game's going to move really quick. He really wants to focus on building relationships first and then playing the game. He feels that Genevieve is someone who is this really, good gamer. She can be both very intelligent, but as we saw in her season, she's also very devious. And he feels that, while she's the most dangerous person on the beach, she's exactly what he needs in an ally, and how in that way she's like very similar to Camilla. So he kind of talks to her, they lock things down. And this is really like a breath of fresh air for Genevieve, because it's like, oh my God, I didn't get this on my, my old season. Like people were constantly kind of casting me aside. I didn't really have that number one. I had to keep voting out allies and things like that. So it really does feel like this is a bit of like a renaissance for Genevieve, where it's like, this is kind of her finally getting to show her true potential as a player. Not that she did in 47, but she had to play a different kind of game. I really think we're going to see a Genevieve that is a lot more like dominant this season and is willing to do a lot of like cutthroat stuff. And I'm really liking what I'm seeing from her so far. I think that, there were a lot of predictions prior to this episode that like Genevieve was like the first boo of the season. Like everybody was saying that. And I was watching this. I'm like, I don't see how that could conceivably happen when she seems like she's in like such a great spot. And I guess what I'll, ask you here is how do you feel about, first of all, the fact that, Kyle was able to assemble a team so quickly, but also how Genevieve is playing so far?
I mean, Kyle was doing the thing. I mean, he literally to see a winner, he was the most recent public winner coming into the season, because like, obviously, spoiler alert, but Savannah's season had not aired yet. So all they saw was Kyle punk out, the honor integrity duo of Joe and Eva and win the season with this dominant person, Camilla, who is also on the cast there, obviously on a different tribe there. But the fact that like, I think that's just a testament to Kyle's social game, that he was able to just do what he did in 48 and then come in here and immediately have these people. But I think he appeals to that old school player because his whole game was, I had my number one and we rode it to the end with Camilla. And I think that is kind of an old school way to play, really. And I think that if you're a Colby or a Stephanie, you're looking at somebody like that. And if, looking at the rest of your group, you have like, your Q, who everybody knows is super chaotic. You have your Angelina, who we all saw can be a mess. You have your Aubrey, who you saw again can be kind of wishy-washy, and
we'll talk about her in a second.
So I think if you're looking at if I'm an old school player and you're looking at the values that an old school Survivor season gave, Kyle really fits the bill on that one. And I think he really didn't like, maybe the Shaheen vote was kind of a dirty, but even then, he was a ride or die with his number one Camilla till they got to Final Four. So I think he appeals to both sides of new era and old school. That I think these old school players can look at him as he can kind of help us bridge that gap of how does this new era of Survivor work, but also his personality clicks with what we're looking for. So I think of the new era players on the season, he fits the bill best for them. So
Yeah, it was kind of crazy how, like, Kyle comes in and it's like, it seems pretty obvious that it's like, okay, we know how he won. We know the game he just played. Camilla's literally in the game. Like, let's target him. But I feel like it's a testament to like Kyle just has like this like magnetism about him where it's like he talks and you just feel like trustworthy towards him. You just feel like he's somebody that you can latch onto. And I think you really see in this premiere just how great Kyle is at building those relations. And not saying 48 didn't do that, but it was so heavily focused around Joe that Kyle just didn't really get that credit until he won. And here it's like you really see what he did to get to the end of that game. So I was really just happy to see just how much he, was in such a great position immediately. But to go to Genevieve real quick. So like I said, she's pretty locked in with Kyle at this point, and, they're pretty much, this duo of sorts. But then she does something with Aubrey that I didn't think was great, because she goes to her here and straight up tells her, like, I find you very dangerous, but I want to work with you, and I feel like we can come together. Now, here's the thing. I don't take issue with her saying, like, people find you dangerous. I think that works just fine. It's the fact that immediately you go to her and the first thing you say is, I think you're dangerous, but let's try to work together. Because, like, if I'm Aubrey in that situation and you're telling me that, I'm like, okay, so you find me dangerous. You want to target me. Like, you're trying to do this to make me not come for you. So, yeah, I thought this was a very interesting sequence. Even Aubrey's confused as to, like, she's like, listen, what are you doing here? Like, what is your angle with this conversation? And, basically she tells her that, like, they're going to have to communicate. The vibe's going to fall flat. I don't know if these two are going to end up working together. It does not seem promising, Mike. I don't know.
It does not. Kind of a rare misfire from Genevieve. I know I didn't really talk about her when you had asked before, but I maybe it could just be Genevieve feeling she had her people already and didn't need. I don't know. It could just be like maybe when you keep it a little too real sometimes with somebody. Not a good move from that. I do think, it's in the grand scheme of things. Will it matter? I guess we'll see. But I think you don't leave a scene like that in the show unless it amounts to something later on down the road. So we'll see. But, Genevieve, again, we saw how she, a lot of people get the Parvati 2.0 lines. I feel like Genevieve, in some extent, kind of gave that of just being this kind of strategic kind of mastermind, maybe in a little different ways, but it just really didn't fully run the game, but you just saw a lot of her playing.
She would have if Rachel's not there.
If Rachel's not there, if Rachel's not winning challenges and having idols, but Genevieve was, you see it there, and I want to see what she does in this new setting, because I think if she can do to some extent what she did the first time around, I think she solidifies herself as a legend then. You see it there, and I want to see what she can pull off, because she's smart, she's good in challenges. I just want to see what she can pull off.
Yeah, and she's much better well set up this time too. So, like, I really do hope that this is like, the game for Genevieve to kind of show a different side of herself. But yeah, this was definitely concerning. Like I said, I think the move is you go to Aubrey, you tell her people are sketched out by you, but I'm not. Let's try to work together. What you don't say is, I think you're dangerous, because I mean, that's everything else. Aubrey's just going to.
Well, you even have to be careful with saying other people, because if you say other people, then it's, which people? I think you just less is more. You just say, I want to work with you. You just want to say, you're my favorite. You're one of my favorite. You're one of my favorites. I mean, maybe you're just thinking someone like Aubrey's smart and is going to figure out that you're just BSing them. So you try to be. I don't know. I don't know what the angle was there.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's everything from Kalo or from Batu until we get to the challenge. So we get to Kalo here, and there's not a ton from Kalo to talk about. Dee does get a confessional about how much she loves Survivor, kind of setting up her tribe
and wiping her ass with leaves.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was a great moment. She talks about how, she knows her reputation going into the season and things like that. And, she kind of goes through like how her tribe kind of has everybody. You got Jonathan, who's got the physical strength. You got smart players like Charlie and Mike. And coincidentally, we cut to a scene of Charlie and Mike just really kind of hitting it off here. And Mike is someone who I think I'm already very drawn to. I think the game that he's playing is very interesting. You know, he talks about how he kind of wants to take a back seat in this game. He feels like he did a lot on his last season. There's a lot that he learned, but this time around, he kind of just wants to have fun.
Well, he gives no fucks.
Yeah, so anyone like stressing him out or irritating him, they're going to be the person he targets. And you kind of see that in this episode, not to jump too far ahead, but like when you get to the journey later on, Mike's like, fuck it, yeah, I'll do the journey. I haven't gotten to do that yet. Like it very much seems like Mike has, even though he didn't win his season, he's perfectly content with just like a fuck it, we ball type attitude. Like,
well, he definitely doesn't need the money. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like he knows that he's doing well for himself. And I don't think he thinks he's like in this game for super long. So he's kind of just chilling and I'm really enjoying watching it. I don't know how far Mike's going to make it, but he's definitely someone that like really sticks out to me immediately.
I mean, I think if you can pick up on the fact that he's just here for a good time, that's exactly who I would want to keep around.
Right.
Because, you know, if he's just like, you know, hanging around camp, vibing, just like, all I got to do is not piss this guy off and he's not going to target. Okay, cool. Easy. Like all I have to do is like not be coach doing my coachisms. I don't have to be Charlie talking about Taylor Swift. You know, I think, you know, if I could say kind of the chips fall where they may with Mike.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll keep him around for a while. You know, maybe I'll also get a cameo. I'll get to cameo on White Lotus if I stay on his good side. So
yeah, I was waiting for I can't wait for people to like, you know, when they go to tribal, be like, don't vote me out. I'll go on White Lotus if you don't. Like
yeah, but like
I've been waiting for that moment.
Shout out to Chrissy being like, oh, I never watched your show.
Oh, it was great.
Real. Because I never have either. So real.
Good show. You should watch it. Yeah, so then we go to Sela here, and Joe talks about like how well-rounded his tribe is. He talks about how Suri is somebody that he's connected with, but he's a little worried about her because she's played so much. And with Jenna, he really likes her. And he likes Christian a lot for how smart he is. And then, of course, there's Devins. I don't know why they chose Joe to narrate this, to be honest with you.
Fucking seriously.
Yeah, like out of everybody, I don't feel like his confessionals are particularly interesting to me. And we'll get to why a little bit later on, but I feel like Joe is proving even more so like how he really only has one style of gameplay, and he's just not the most interesting character to watch. So you know, the less we get of him this season, the better in my mind.
The less we get of him, the better. I'm still suffering from 48. I can't.
So what you're saying is, Mike, you don't have that honor and integrity. You don't have that in you anymore.
No, like I guess for me, like the honor and integrity bullcrap. It's like you didn't, and it's just not good TV for me.
Right.
Like the last thing I need to see is him giving himself a blowjob for 8 episodes again. Like it's just I can't deal with it, and like I don't know. It's just he's not an interesting person. He is
no.
I can't do it. I cannot do it with him. I mean, I get there's people that like him, and Jeff Probst for some reason said 48 was one of his favorite seasons. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why he's here. I'm fine
I think you want to talk about like I think the one person besides Jonathan, because I really don't like Jonathan at all, but the one person that I think was just not really a great pick. It's probably Joe.
He's here for the casuals, and like, all right, cool. Y'all could have him. Yeah. Y'all can do whatever. I mean, I can. The only thing that I could really do with him is like if he completely just like abandons the honor integrity bullcrap. But that's
the thing. Like Joe is someone that I really want to like as a character. I want to feel drawn to him because the show likes him so much. The problem is that I haven't seen much from him other than I have this one way of playing. If anyone else doesn't play the game that way, they suck. So like, and I just don't find that fun to watch. But anyway,
I mean, he's very much like, I don't know how up you are on Australian Survivor, but he's like,
I haven't watched any of it. So
okay. He's like anyone who has, he's like Lee from Australian Survivor 2016, where like Lee was like openly berating people for wanting to win. And like, how dare you want this money? And then like, it's just not fun. It's just boring. I can't deal with it. And you are not Mr. Honor Integrity because you voted out freaking David, the guy with the 4 nipples.
Exactly.
On 48. So it's like,
good rinse, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not. Anyway, back to the Steeler
Enough
tribe.
about 48. Let's
Yeah, back to the Steeler tribe.
You talk about Joe, you just start ranting for like 40 minutes. That's just the kind of
character. I'm not a fan.
No, I'm really not either. But who I am a fan of is Savannah, who she gets this moment and she talks to her tribe about how basically how well she did in Survivor 49. And I was not thrilled about this. I was really hoping that the show would not force her to tell people, but apparently they did. Like, this is from what I heard. She was told going on to the season she had to tell them that she won. And I really feel like that was kind of setting herself up for failure, because if I'm Savannah, hey, you didn't see my season. You don't need to know how I did.
From what I had heard, sorry to interrupt. From what I had heard, people knew already. Yeah. I heard an interview with Sophie, Blue Sophie from last season, and the plan was to tell people that Savannah got 5th on 49. And before they got there, Sophie called Savannah and said, "Oh, it leaked out that you won, so abort mission." Tell
okay, that makes sense.
So, I think, even if she had to, I think if you +2, if you say, "Oh, I got 5th," you don't know what Rizzo's. It's not like Russell Hantz where nobody knew. You don't know what Rizzo's saying, so Rizzo could be over. I know y'all were tight, but Rizzo might have leaked it, so might want to be honest too. And I'm sure people on her tribe are smart enough to figure, well, there's a new era winner on the Kahlo tribe, and there's a new era winner on the Vatu tribe. All right, we know Emily didn't win. We know Joe didn't win. Savannah must have won. So I think it was a smart move on her part.
No, exactly. I get why she did it. I really wanted to see her just kind of lie about her season, because I think it would have been fun to watch. But yeah, so that's basically what she does. She wants to kind of build trust, come across as someone who isn't an easy vote. And then we really get the craziness on this tribe, because we go to Jenna, who came into the season and I really thought she was going to be in this really great spot. But Jenna decides to basically not play like Jenna on this Borneo Jenna.
Well, that's
yeah. So basically she says that hey, I know this is going to be a really intense season. There's so many people on the cast who have done major shit, and so she feels that she needs to do something to immediately get blood in her hands, immediately needs to show her cards. And so for some reason, the way she decides to go about this, she goes right to Savannah and tells her that she's worried about Sari because of the story that she has and playing across 5 seasons. She wants to target her. She goes as far as to establish this group with Christian and Joe and Savannah and really just prove to people that she's cutthroat enough to play this game. And look, this is what I'll say. I get that you're coming into a game where you haven't played for years and you're just really excited to play Survivor again. But Jesus Christ, you got to pump the brakes here. The fact that you're targeting Sari of all people so early on, when there hasn't even been a tribal, there hasn't even been an immunity challenge or anything. You're just getting on to the beach. I mean, this is just such a unforced error in the worst possible way, Mike. What did you think of this? Because generally I was shocked when she did this.
Yeah, I think the timing of it was definitely a bad idea. I think lose first, because I think it, we'll get into the challenge later, but I think if you would have had an easier time maybe pulling this off after the challenge. Exactly. But I mean, Sari's a kind of player that people are going to have stars in their eyes when they see her, because it's Sari. People love Sari. These new era players, how many casts, how many pregame interviews have you seen? People, they ask, who's your favorite player? Sari. Right. Most of the time it's Sari. So I think you need to have a more valid reason to get rid of her. The timing of it was just abhorrent. But again, I mean, to your point though, she played Borneo Jenna. This was All Stars Jenna. Her thing in All Stars immediately was
one episode I'd seen of that. I would agree.
If you're a winner, you're gone. So her kind of being fast and furious, it didn't surprise me, because I mean, and two, I think the overzealousness of, I haven't played in 42 seasons. I gotta, and I know one thing, the game is faster paced. Let me try to get ahead of the faster pace of the game by being even faster.
Exactly.
I think ill-advised, Not a good move. And I think of all the people, Cerie's somebody that even if she makes you lose 7 immunity challenges, people still want to keep her around because it's Cerie.
Exactly. Like, I mean, we just saw her on Big Brother 25 do horrible, mostly challenges, and yet people just felt so endeared to her the entire way through because she's so good socially and strategically. Sometimes not the greatest, but most of the time is pretty good. So I think like the idea of targeting Cerie, obviously that's not bad. It's the way that she goes about it so swiftly and forcefully in the way that she does it. I think that's really what like fucked her here. And pretty much immediately we see Christian goes right to Rick about this and, tells him what Jen is doing. And we realized pretty quickly that Rick and Christian, I mean, these are two people that have just really wanted to work with each other. We see them like geeking out that they're really excited to be on the same tribe. There's a really funny scene where Rick is even looking through like tree branches and he thinks he got an idol, but it's just a stick and things like that. I love these two. Like, listen, I have not seen either of these two played before. And now I am like chomping at the bit to see their seasons because I really love this dynamic. Like there's some really interesting dynamics in the season so far. This might be my favorite. Like just the two of them going back and forth. Christian talking about how he wants Rick to be like his Captain Kirk to his Spock and things like that. Both of them just being so excited to work with each other. I'm just really loving their dynamic in the show so far. What do you think about Christian and Rick?
Which is funny because I loved Christian on David versus Goliath. Like classic character, classic season. Devon's, I was not a fan of him. I think just very, at least on Edge of Extinction, very performative.
Okay.
Like wanted to be a character really bad, and it grated on me after all. So he actually was one of the people I was not excited to see back. I've enjoyed him more on this season because I feel like he is just being a little bit more of himself, and we're not just getting like him playing up for the cameras a bit. The dynamic there between these two, the pre-gaming allegations always come into play with season. I mean, I would love to see how this alliance started between the two of them before, but it just felt like all of a sudden it's like, yep, they're tight now. I mean, obviously, maybe they know, two big characters from, modern-ish seasons, but I've enjoyed them.
And they're both like heavily on like RHAP as well, so it's probably through that as well. Like they have that. Yeah.
I mean, Christian is just, like, he was after Dave versus Goliath, everybody's like, next returning season, he's eligible for Christian's a shoe-in for it. So
he's great.
He's great. He's just phenomenal.
Oh yeah. So Rick tells him pretty much like, the two of them are locked in, but he also really wants Emily to work with him and that they're finding the time to have this talk. He goes to her about like the two of them working together, and very similar to Genevieve, Emily is like really just kind of like in denial about this because it's like, oh my God, I have two like solid allies that actually want to work with me, compared to like how she was basically forced into working with people in 45 because people just immediately like got bad vibes from her and things like that.
I can't imagine why they did on 45.
Yeah, I don't know what could she have possibly done. No, but I think what I like about Emily so far in this season is that, one, I mean, we already know from 45, like she knows what she did wrong, but also she's so much more like confident of herself. And she's so much more willing to play the game in a way that she wasn't willing to do for a while in 45 because of the way that things were going down. And it's really great to see her have this confidence and this positivity and kind of talk about how like she knows she's made progress, she just isn't really quite ready to do that yet, but you can see that she's starting to realize like, okay, maybe things will go better for me this time around. So I'm really enjoying that dynamic and excited to see how that goes. But now let's get to the fun part, Mike. Let's talk about Exile Island, because my God, this was just legendary. Like, as someone who doesn't know jack shit about Coach and Ozzy and their seasons, this made me again like really eager to watch how this all goes down, because it starts off and Coach is trying to like take this time to like really try to make amends with like Ozzy and things like that. But you can see that there is a lot of resentment, because from what I gathered, Ozzy's basically the reason Coach lost his season. from
Yeah.
the way they covered on the show.
Yeah, the way they show. I mean,
Yeah.
Coach was the reason Coach lost the season.
Right,
I mean, he could
right.
scapegoat Ozzy for that one.
And I can imagine why that is, considering what he does in the next episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Ozzy, he's someone who he wants to try to patch things up, kind of show that they're more than their beef. One of them can win in just like a very fair and just way. And I think at the time he was serious about this. I do think he was willing to patch things up here, but doesn't quite go down the way they want to. Basically, this challenge, they're gonna have to retrieve like 3 bags of sticks. They got to climb this pole and dig in the sand. And once all 3 bags are, I'm reading the wrong thing here. This was the fucking marooning challenge. Basically, what they have to do is
there were sticks at this challenge.
There were sticks, and they had to get this key of sorts. And if you get the key, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to keep the key. Someone can steal that.
Which I love that.
It was a really, really cool challenge for sure. But basically, Ozzy tries to make a deal here, and he's like, listen, if you get it, I'm not going to steal it from you. Unfortunately, though, when Ozzy knocks the key off, Coach is like, fuck that, and he just takes it, and therefore wins Camp Supplies, and Ozzy's like, Coach, what the fuck? Like, I was trying to, like, throw you a bone here, and yeah, Coach just completely takes the supplies, and yeah, I mean, this is, from what I've gathered, that this is Coach. Like, this is who Coach is. This is the kind of thing that he does. So it's not entirely shocking that he did this. But what did you think of this whole thing?
I mean, yeah. I mean, without spoiling South Pacific too much, I mean, that's basically Coach's entire game. It's being the villain, doing devious shit. But then when the time comes to actually own up to it, he doesn't do that. And he makes a good point, though. He never agreed. The deal from what we saw was between Ozzy and Q. Mm-hmm. Coach, he even said, I kept my mouth shut. I said nothing. But the problem is, Coach is still going to sit there and say, how dare you, try to question my honor. It's like, Coach, you can't have, he tries to have it both ways, and it just doesn't work. If he just, was able to leave it at, I didn't agree to the deal.
Yep.
Too bad, so sad, better luck next time. But he still tries to keep, a thin.
Yeah, like I think that Coach.
You kind of cut out there. You froze for a sec.
Oh yeah. Okay, I think we're good now.
Yeah. No, but like my thing is like, Coach wants to have it both ways. He is a villain. He does play dirty. He will lie. He will do whatever. And anybody who saw, any season he's been on knows he has no problem doing that. But then when the time comes to actually be like, yes, I did, he won't do that. Yep. So, even if it was a dirty move, which debatable if it was, he's not going to admit that, because then you're questioning his honor and his integrity, which, the potential honor and integrity alliance this season's a little nauseating, but when Q is the level-headed one in the situation, that's how shit's funny. But I loved it. It was great TV.
Oh yeah, it was really great to watch. But I really enjoyed the way all that went down. It made me very interested to see how Ozzy and Coach get to this point. Whenever I get to South Pacific, I'm very interested to see how that all goes down. But then, so Ozzy and Q, they're now in a position where it's like, they don't know what's going to happen. They're given the scroll. They're hoping that it's going to be some kind of an advantage. And it's very much not that. It's not quite what they had, hoped it would be. Instead, it is basically a ticket to Exile Island, where basically they're going to be staying for the duration of the night. And Q is pissed about this because he's like, oh my God, I got to deal with Ozzy all night now. He's going to be like, constantly just rehashing what happened with Coach and things like that. And again, the fact that Q is the one that's like the rational one in this situation, that's when you notice how crazy this whole thing is. And Mike, I obviously haven't watched the Exile Island season, but as someone who has, what was your excitement in seeing this twist return?
Well, I mean, it wasn't just the Exile Island. You've seen it many times over the season. So it is just it's a nice little nod to the old school fans to see it. Because I mean, I think we've seen it a couple times in the new era with like Hourglass Island with Erica. And so it's just little things like that. Like, you don't need full-fledged fan service personally, but just seeing the fact that the show's willing to bring back older things for the
Yeah.
fans there. It's because that's something that carries weight. Like Exile was like the shit. I'm
Yeah.
going, back in the day. So like you see the new school players being like, oh God, I know how bad this can be. And then on top of that, you had the dynamic of I have to listen to Ozzy, who probably had a quarter in him the entire time talking about
Yeah.
coach. Yeah, for Q probably had a rough night. And then not only that too, you're there, it's the beginning of the season. You're not there making what connections with the tribe. And, they're probably there thinking like God only knows what these guys are doing the entire time, because
Mm.
that's something out of the ordinary for the new era, is players being gone for that extended period of a time.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No, I think we're so used to like the journeys and things like that. And so this was a really fun sort of nod to, like you said, like old school and things like that. And we don't get a ton here. I was thinking that we're going to spend more time on this. Really, all we get is this moment where, Ozzy, where basically, Ozzy's not really happy to be here because there's alliance building that he's not involved in and things like that. But before they do depart, they're given another surprise. And I thought this was actually really cool what they did. Basically, their tribe supplies is going to be for sale, but it's going to be at the cost of one of their votes. So essentially, one of them has to return to camp with camp supplies, but no votes, while the other one has to return to camp supplies with camp supplies, but with a vote, but no camp supplies. And Ozzy pretty much immediately is like, dude, I don't care about the supplies. Like, I just want my vote. Like, that's all that matters to me. I don't need the supplies. You can just have it. And Q pretty much agrees to this, like, full sale. Like, there's not really a ton of debate here. It's pretty much just like, okay, if you want to do that, we'll do it. So, he gets Q's extra vote and things like that. And, he's pretty shocked that it worked as well as he did, but he feels like he's kind of playing the right game this time around. And Q feels really good about this decision because he feels like he has the better end of the deal with the supplies. What do you think of this little wrinkle here?
I mean, I don't personally like the lose the vote thing, but I like this one though. No, I like this one though because it gave the option of like, okay, what's more important, like the social aspect of coming back with supplies or losing your vote. And like, again, I don't think lose a vote just needs to be so prevalent all the time, but I think this was a nice little take on it because, again, players like Q, they went through, this lose your vote, this lose your vote. Ozzy hasn't been through that. So it's interesting to just see these these old school players have to deal with these like new school wrinkles. So, and I think let's see the mentality too, because like if you're Q, you're like, well, I've seen people lose their votes before, and it's hit or miss if it works out. So, and then Ozzy just being like, nope, we're good, not doing that stuff.
Yeah.
So I like this take on it.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I've definitely gotten to a point where it's like it's not really exciting to see somebody just have to lose their vote and not actively participate in the discussion. It kind of feels like, why are they even here if they don't have a vote and things like that? A lot of the time it just kind of fucks them over. But I think out of the variation that they've done, this is probably the best because there is genuine incentive to not having a vote here. You get camp supplies. Everyone feels great with you. And now you have this dilemma where it's like you don't have a vote. So I think there was some interesting things they did here. But basically, we'll talk about what happens after this challenge now. So getting to Kahlo, when coach returns, everyone's pretty overjoyed that he successfully got their camp supplies. Pretty shocked that he did. They thought for sure, I think Ozzy was going to win that. There's this really funny scene about like coach's toe ring and things like that I thought was pretty funny. But Chrissy is like not happy with this. She does not like the fact there isn't a lot of strategy going on within her tribe. So she goes to coach about the fact that, hey, the two of us really need to stick together to gain numbers. They really got to come up with a reason to vote anyone out. And immediately, I think we kind of knew that this was going to happen. D is thrown out as a possibility, really because she's already won the money. And that in itself is like just a major red flag. She wants to be diabolical and kind of laugh while she's doing it and things like that. I'm not surprised that we're going in this direction. I feel like, D, I don't want to say was like immediately at a disservice on this cast, but she kind of was. I mean, I think pretty much everyone agrees D, even if you think she's not the best winner, she is hands down the most dominant winner of the new era. She got her way pretty much the entire merge phase. Like, people are even people who maybe haven't kept up with the new era, like, D, the way that she played. It was so, highly talked about, throughout that time. So I really do feel like D was kind of at a disadvantage here, and I'm not really sure how long she is for this game, unfortunately.
Well, luckily, I think when you got someone like Jonathan on your tribe, and then I don't know how often you're going to be going to tribal, but
right. Yeah, I think she's going to be good. I think she's going to be good as long as she's on this tribe for a bit. But it's what's going to happen like later on. I'm very much concerned for her.
Yeah, and again, though, I think it depends, though, because it could go both ways. It could be, Dee's won the money, let's get rid of her, or it's, hey, let's keep her around as a shield because she does have that reputation of being, so dominant. And again, she did also won challenges. Like, she proved that she can do it all out there. She's somebody that you have to worry about strategically, socially, physically. Like, she really is a triple threat. And, that's somebody that you might want to keep around as a shield. And, if you're Chrissy, again, you got to be careful with the throwing the names out thing because, we saw Jenna do the same thing on the Sela tribe, throwing Cerie's name out there first. Who's to say if Kahlo were to lose that, that doesn't come back to bite Chrissy in the ass. So it's interesting to see the same thing happening on two different tribes there of someone throwing out the name of like, oh, this person has to go because they're a threat.
Right.
One person's threat is another person's shield.
Exactly.
So exactly. You got to be careful. You got to thread that needle carefully. And who's to say if he's doing that or not? So.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really get much follow-up with this other than it seems like Dee's kind of in trouble because later we see this like fashion show of sorts that's conducted by Rizzo, and this kind of gets Colby to warm up to him a bit. He's feeling like he's actually kind of fun, and it doesn't escape him that he's also the same age that he was when he first played this game, and he feels that same energy, that same type of exuberance, and things turn around pretty much entirely where we get this really actually sweet scene between him and Rizzo where he talks about how, hey, listen, if you need anything, I'm here for you. He knows he just got back here, and Rizzo talks about how his dad's 47 and his parents kind of mean everything to him, and he's kind of coming in like his dad doing so. And I thought this was actually like a really endearing scene, and Rizzo even talks about it like this is the best way for him to gain knowledge, considering that this is someone that has played quite a few times, and while he feels apprehensive, he kind of wants to go from Rizzo the fan to Rizzo the player, and he wants to be remembered as one of the greats. And yeah, so what seemed like this potential rivalry of sorts turns into potentially Colby and Rizzo working together, and I'm excited to see how this is going to go.
Well, if there's one thing older people love to do, it's try to, instill knowledge in the younger generation there. But
parental figure,
be the parental figure. And I mean, Colby, I thought he was going to kind of be like the dad of the tribe here.
Yeah.
But this is why I love these kind of returning seasons because this and this is one thing I want to see Survivor do more of. Is you can have emotional scenes and you can have these kind of like touching moments without the sad montage and like
and make it relevant to what's
going on. I mean, like those have always been a thing in Survivor. Like when people say that, oh, that's a new era thing, it's not. We've always had that in Survivor, but they found a way back in the day to make it like tentative to what was happening in the season. That it just wasn't like JD in season 41 like, oh, I had glasses, and like that's the thing that we're supposed to feel sad about. It's you can make me care about these people and you can have these touching human moments, but still have it part of the grand scheme of whatever the story the season's trying to tell. And I think moments like that are better than, if you were just have a confessional of like Colby crying about, that he's old now or something or all that. I think like finding that balance of making that work, I think goes down better. And I think the new era, do I think they gotten better with that? Yes. But at the beginning of it, like, oh my gosh, like everybody had a sob story, and it's just it just gets to the point then where it's just like, okay, but like I don't really care about this person's problem. So I like things like this because it's like it's still like that camp life thing, but you're still getting that actual like human experience. And again, anybody who says that's just a new era thing is wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a good balance of like it's this really nice emotional scene, but it also is satisfying because you've already set up like this potential like rivalry between Colby and Rizzo, but it's like actually no, that's not the direction it's going. I thought it was pretty cool the way they decided to edit that. So we get this moment with Jonathan. He talks about how he really wants to change up his gameplay this time around. We're hearing this from basically every single physical
Every
player.
single,
um,
I'm Jonathan 2.0, I'm
yeah,
Coach 4.0. Like,
right. I'm Ozzy 5.0. Like we're hearing it from everybody. I just like I will believe it when I see it. I'm gonna say it with him. I'm gonna say it with pretty much everybody. I will believe it when I see it. Yes, he's setting up an alliance. Yes, that's cool to see. Talks about how like he wants to be more honest and things like that. I don't give a fuck about that. As we mentioned before. But yeah, so we'll see with Jonathan. I don't know. I don't find him interesting. I find him, honestly pretty repulsive. But yeah. So he then goes to Mike and brings up how smart the D is. And it seems like this thing is really kind of starting to gain some traction that, she won. This kind of makes her, lean towards him voting her out. Mike seems to agree on this. We see that he's forming a bond with Coach, who swears that he's never going to betray him, which it's fucking Coach. So like, I don't know why you believe that. But so yeah, he's well insulated, but again, the thing with Jonathan that I think we really do have to keep in mind is how much of this is like this is Jonathan, he's really good at challenges, so we have to stay good with him versus like I actually am liking Jonathan and feel like he's a good ally for me. I don't know which it's going to be, but
yeah.
I really do feel like he's kind of set up here to have this like blind faith in people and he's just going to get fucked over. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
what I feel like is going to
Well, I
happen
mean, that's basically what happened in 42. I mean, he
pretty much.
was on he was in the
Oh yeah,
majority on Taku, but that's just because, they needed him to, muscle
exactly.
through these challenges. And then we get to the merge and like really, he really had no social capital because in his alliance, you had Omer and Lindsay who were kind of the strategists.
Right.
Um, and even then, when it came down to the merge, when it was like the challenges aren't so much like in the pre-merge, you see a lot of like the physical strength challenges,
Yeah.
all that. But when you get to the merge, you see a lot more like level playing, like challenges that are meant to be on a level playing
Yeah.
field, where like physical strength and size kind of are a detriment when they're a lot more balancy and a lot more,
Yeah.
that like he only won 2 individual immunities, which is impressive, but he really had no social capital. Like he had his alliance with Mike, and that was
Yeah.
really it. Um, like I think if he got to the end, he wouldn't have gotten maybe 1 vote, but
Mhm.
he was not coming out of 42. He was not well liked. I mean, people were using the word misogynist, to
Oh,
describe
yeah.
him. He was not well liked then.
Yeah.
So I think if he
Yeah,
needs to
the
improve in
constant
any,
microaggressions and things like
yeah,
that. He's not
him calling Drea and Marianne aggressive.
that's the
So if
part.
there's really anything, I don't think there's strategic games where he needs to improve on. I want to see how he is, and I know this isn't a cast assessment, when
No.
his back gets to the wall, because that's when his ugly side kind of started to
Yeah.
come out then. So I'm
Yeah, no,
personally,
I agree with you. That's kind of like for me, that's really what's going to show like, okay, has Jonathan actually changed? Is he able to not just immediately crack under pressure, and is he able to actually handle things in like a more sort of like sort of subtle way to where he doesn't immediately become extremely unlikable like he was in 42. So we'll
yeah,
see. We'll see. There's still
exactly.
time. There's still
Yeah.
time
And,
with Jonathan.
and I'm a personal believer in conflict reveals character. And I think you
Yeah.
definitely saw that with him. So
Oh yeah.
we'll
Oh yeah.
see.
Yeah. But we do get this really good moment that you alluded to earlier with Tiffany, where she's really happy that Dee's on her tribe. They're very energetic. She's kind of hoping the two of them and Camilla are going to ride things out, kind of this new era trio of sorts. And I like this three. I really like this three a
Oh,
lot. I
hell
think
yeah.
that they have very similar personalities. They're all people who I loved watching on their seasons. Tiffany, we see isn't really vibing with Chrissy. She kind of feels like she might not be the greatest for her. So this is like the first crack of maybe Chrissy throwing out D wasn't the greatest thing for her. we don't get a lot of follow-up with that here, but we do get this really great moment with Camilla that I particularly loved, where she talks about how she's just thrilled on a cast that has all these strong women. She doesn't have to deal with honor and integrity all season and things like that. And she thinks that the three of them are going to be this really fun duo. They're going to slaughter someone. No one's going to see them coming. I'm really hoping they go far. I'm really hoping this is like a really strong trio. My only real concern, I would say, is that they've all been very under edited so far. So I don't know what that means for them moving forward, but I really like the idea of like these three coming together.
Yeah, I mean it's tough though, because I mean, like, when you have to spend time.
Players, yeah.
Well, there's 24 players, and like that's uncharted territory for
Yeah.
Survivor, but also too when you're on the tribe that isn't going to tribal council, which I know we'll get to the immunity challenge, but we're basically now like half the episode now we're not going to see you. So it's like when you're kind of a victim of your own success. And to Camilla's point though, like dealing with the honor and integrity tribe, I'd be careful with that because you're on a tribe with Coach and Jonathan. So, we'll see how that goes. So she might not be out of the woods on that one.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't know what to make of this. I like the three, but I don't know where it's gonna go.
Yeah, I would love to see this tribe go to tribal because I just feel there would be a lot of shit going down.
No, I agree. Like, I honestly don't know what would happen here because, like, it seems like you have like the Jonathan, Chrissy, and like Coach side who like they're very much locked in. You have Mike kind of there as well, but I feel like Mike is also like where does Charlie fit into this? That's kind of hard to tell. And then you have this three with Tiffany, Camilla, and Dee, and I feel like Charlie's more likely to go to like the new schoolers than he is like the coaches and Chrissy's of the world. So I really don't know how this would go down. Especially because we haven't seen Chrissy play since her season. So
yeah,
I'm interested to see how this really what really happens here. But we check in with Vatu a bit. Q talks about how he came back with his camp supplies, lets them in on what happened, but he doesn't want to say anything about losing his vote from them. So he tells them this lie about some comp with like some coconuts where had the opportunity to earn supplies, but Ozzy just couldn't win it. They seem convinced until he goes to Kyle. And basically Kyle feels like, hey, Q just stepped up. He's a really good guy to pull into this. And Q tells Kyle about his the fact that he lost his vote. And so he pulls him aside, tells him to talk to Genevieve, and basically tells him what happened. And Kyle is actually very receptive to this. He sees this as like this real sign of trust and kind of proof that Q is going to fit in well. So like I said, I actually think Q is somewhat decently set up on this season. It seems like he is recognizing quite a bit of what he did wrong last time. And I'm actually liking what we're seeing from Q here. I feel like out of the people who are like, I'm going to play differently, Q's one of the few that I feel like that might actually ring true for. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. And what makes me nervous about like big characters on other seasons, it's like when they come back, they try to just recreate how they were the first time. But I mean, Q, I'm not seeing the thing, which as a fan hurts a little bit because I want to see him make chaos and I want to see him.
Get them to play hide and seek. Come on.
I want to see him. I want to see the Q. So I'm still hoping we get that at some point.
Yeah.
But initially, and again, I mean, going back to Kyle too, how freaking locked in was Kyle? That the first person we see Q go to is Kyle.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, just really liking what we're seeing from Q so far. So then we go to Sela, and though they are without supplies, they kind of decide to find a way to start a fire using glasses, some seaweed, and I think sunlight, and they're able to do this. And
this is old school. That's old school shit.
Yeah, I did hear some about that though. Like that's something that they've done before. And I thought it was pretty cool the way Christian like gives himself credit, acts like this is like this genius plan. But now you're telling me it's happened before, so I think that's.
I mean, it's happened before, but I mean, again though, but there's still you have to do it. It sounds like a plan up. I mean, sure, someone else has done it, but you still got to do it. So it's still again, and just the things like this, like I don't need the show to go back to full on old school, but just these little moments there. It's nice. It's still nice to see.
Yeah. So he brings up how his son's his secret weapon, his real dream to set an example for him. Again, I think this is another example of like something sweet that we don't need like piano music playing in the background for. So I thought this was a really nice moment. So then Suri talks to Rick, and this is really when things get exciting because he brings up Christian, which she agrees with. And Rick immediately tells her that, like, yeah, Jenna's throwing your name out. And she's really shocked about this because Suri kind of thinks that this is being done because Jenna wants to be the sole queen, and she gives off those same vibes. And so she is very much not here for this. And so she goes to Ozzy, kind of tells him what's going on. And he makes it clear, like, yeah, we are locked in together. You have nothing to worry about. And I think Ozzy has the right idea here where it's like, I want to be more, and this is why, like, I actually do kind of believe Ozzy might be playing differently because he talks about how, like, listen, I don't have the strategy. I want to have the strategy, but I'm just not quite there yet. Suri does have that strategy, and I feel like, you know, she's somebody I can kind of gravitate towards. I know her better than anybody. You know, I trust her the most. And, you know, if he's able to pull in 1 to 2 more people, he feels like he's going to gain more control of this tribe. What are we thinking about potentially a new Ozzy here? Do you believe it at all?
I mean, again, I don't want to spoil seasons for you, but again, we've heard this with Ozzy before coming into Game Changers of I want to be a different Ozzy, and then he turns into I'm gonna fish and get food and do good challenges. Maybe the 5th time's a charm here. I mean, I've seen, you know, but this is the 3rd time him and Suri have been on the same starting tribe together. Yeah. So at this point, it's like, well, if you can't beat him, you might as well join him. So maybe at his age now, like maybe the physical is not so much there. He knows he's got to do something different. Or again, I've seen this film with Ozzy before. I'm gonna play different, and then he turns into fishing.
The complete opposite.
So who knows? Maybe in his older years, and you know, now he's got that OnlyFans money. You know, maybe he's gonna switch up a bit. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. But Jenna then takes this time to call the fact that Suri and Ozzy are the only ones who played together twice, and this was like so like overly messy for me. Like, I get what you're doing here, but like you're literally doing this in front of everybody. It's like, okay,
and you also haven't even had an immunity challenge yet.
Right. Like, it's like, I think she already was handling this badly. This is really where it's like, I don't think this is going to work out. Like, I think.
Even if it wasn't Suri, if I'm seeing someone on my tribe throwing names out this quick and being this messy this early, I'm like, okay, well, how long until they start doing this to me?
Right. And especially like pushing this narrative so early on that like those two only care about each other. They don't care about us. They're locked in. Like we're going to all be picked off. It's like the game literally just started. You don't even know what's going to happen. You don't know. Yes, Ozzy is a very good like physical competitor, but there's other people on other tribes that are just like that and things like that. So there's so little to go off of. Yes, obviously you can kind of subtly like bring up this might be a problem, but to push it so overtly like this, I just don't really know what Jenna was thinking. I think she just kind of wanted to come in guns blazing, and it just
I really think it was a case of, you know, I haven't like I said before, I haven't played in a while.
No.
I'm gonna come in and try to, you know, make an impact quickly, and it just bit her. I think she went big game hunting, and it just bit her in the ass.
Exactly. So yeah, basically that's all we get. So then we get to the immunity challenge, and this is where things take a bit of a turn, where basically they're going to have to climb up and down through these cargo nets. They're going to crawl into pairs through a mud tunnel. 2 players are going to push a cage filled with coconuts onto a platform, and 2 more unload them. There's going to be a 5th player who must toss the coconuts into a net to release a crate containing a weighted rope and ball. A 6th player is then going to use the rope ball to activate a lever, releasing a ramp. And after all tribe members climb up the ramp, the final 2 then put together this logo puzzle to an immunity. And, you know, the challenge goes down. And it seems like, you know, that Fatu has a really big lead here. It seems like they are probably going to win this challenge. And then, unfortunately, things really take a turn. You know, we've been talking a lot about how well set up Kyle is and things like that. But unfortunately, he ends up getting pretty seriously hurt. He goes up the ramp and he's told he's okay. Basically, he goes up the ramp. He ends up hurting his ankle. And he's told at this point that like he's okay to continue as long as he doesn't put pressure on his ankle. And this is like I have two things about this. Obviously, one, this is very sad to see. It's always really unfortunate when someone has an injury during a challenge. And for it to be Kyle, especially, is like really devastating to see how well set up he was. Two, this was like the one thing that pretty much everyone knew going into this season. It was just kind of a matter of like when it was going to happen. I did not expect it to happen this soon. I heard that this happened like in like the merge phase and things like that. So I was very surprised to see it happen so quickly, but really saddening for Kyle for sure. But at least it seemed like right now he was going to be okay, which, we'll talk about a little bit later what ended up happening. But yeah, just really sad for Kyle. But this does thankfully end up not being a huge setback because Vachu does win immunity alongside Kahlo, which does, of course, send Sela to Tribal. And we see immediately that Savannah's like full on blaming Suri for losing this challenge.
I mean, she's not wrong, but at the same time, Christian immediately said, though, it's like as a group, they decided who did what. And my question is, why the fuck are you putting Suri on that?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I get that, yes, if in a vacuum, Suri is absolutely the person that you should be blaming for why you went to Tribal. But I think who you really should be blaming is whoever the fuck decided to put her in that spot, because that's like not really Suri's like skill set. Like Suri would have been really good on the puzzle. I think she would have killed the puzzle, honestly. I don't know why you don't just put her there. Like the place that you're putting her in, it's just like, that's not her strength. We literally just saw her on Big Brother 25 and how she does with like really overly physical stuff. Like that's just not the way that's just not her forte. So I was just really baffled by why they put her in that position. So
yeah, and I don't know if like she volunteered because we don't get to see the strategizing on these things. Who knows if she said like, oh, I want to do it at that point, then someone's kind of got to be like, okay, no. Which I get, you maybe don't want to say that to somebody. So without seeing
exactly,
without seeing the strategy. But I think and if you're a Suri, you kind of have to have enough self-awareness to be like, this isn't my thing. For the sake of the team, I'll do something else.
No, exactly.
But I think the difference is you see Savannah blame Suri in a confessional away from everybody else. And if you're Jenna, now's the time you start to try to push a name.
Yeah, exactly.
Because now you at least have a reason of, and in the new era too, how many times have we seen the tribe who loses the first challenge ends up losing the next 7 challenges? So,
right.
Now's the time you try to push Suri if you can. But.
So let's talk about the lead up to Tribal, because it gets pretty juicy here, where Christian's trying to kind of give him this pep talk that like, hey, we just lost because of small decisions. We're going to work on it next time. It's not going to happen again. And Suri is really distraught about what happened because she feels like she basically sent them to Tribal. She's taken full responsibility here, and Ozzy's trying to reassure her. He knows that there's things that she's good at. She has other skill sets, and he's trying to tell her that while she has bad days, the good ones far outweigh them and things like that. So she really wants to try to get this group together to vote out Jenna, knowing how heavily she has been throwing her name around. And meanwhile, Jenna is talking to Rick and Savannah about how tonight pretty much solidified that their tribe is going to be stronger without Suri there. And again, this just really is showing how forcefully she was pushing this. Because now you actually do have a point. But it very much feels like, oh, see, I told you Suri's gonna be a problem. I told you Suri's gonna be a problem. Did you see? Like, do you believe me? Do you believe me now? She's gonna be a problem? Like that's basically what she's doing. It's basically like you vote Suri out or you're crazy. That's kind of like how she's going about this. And she then makes, I think, probably the worst mistake she could have in going right to Ozzy and trying to include him on the plan. Because I mean,
it makes no sense to do that.
Like if you're worried about like Ozzy and Suri linking up, why in the hell are you going to go to Ozzy about voting out Suri? You know he's not going to do that. And he obviously goes to the others, talks about how, and I do think that this is good logic. Like Suri is someone that they can find places for in other challenges, and while Jenna also does, she's just going to be much more of a liability because of how hard she is already playing. And so Jenna really like is the biggest threat. And Christian's really worried that if Jenna's still around, that they will be playing her game for the next 4 days. And it's like, yeah, I mean, she's basically trying to play like a mob boss. So I don't blame you for thinking that. Basically, he feels that she is playing too hard. She has this ferocity that scares him, while Suri is a lot more subdued. So Christian's not really down for this at all. And Joe, meanwhile, predictably has conflicted feelings about this.
Shocker.
Yeah, because he's very much in the mindset where it's like, well, why are we just like agreeing to vote out Jenna? Why is that something that we're doing together? And he's very concerned that Ozzy and Suri are working here behind the scenes, just like Camilla and Kyle on his season. So he feels like they need to be split up. And this is the part I think that's really funny. He says later at Tribal, like he's over what they did. Bro is very much not over what
he is
did.
so not. And he is not.
It is very much like, oh, I'm good now. I'm okay. You don't have anything to worry about. It's like,
it's like talking about a bad ex over and over again.
Exactly.
It's like, who are you trying to convince, me or you?
Right. Exactly. Like I really feel like Joe has this like grudge against what happened, and it's pretty clear that that's the case. And I found this to be a pretty funny confessional. As a result,
yeah, and I feel like if he was like self-aware enough to admit that, I'd find him more interesting. But he's just not doing that.
It's the self-righteousness for me. That's really just what I never have been able to enjoy about him. Because he has this like hero complex and things like that, and I just don't enjoy it. So he pulls in Rick and Savannah to potentially be on board with this because he feels like that Ozzy and Suri really do need to be split up here. So Emily then talks to Rick and kind of has this moment where she's like, wait a minute, why don't we just do Ozzy here? Like, if Ozzy's going to be a problem, why don't we just target Ozzy? That'd be kind of fun if we did that. She feels that keeping an Ozzy is worse for her because the longer Jenna and Suri are in, they're going to be gunning for each other, and they don't want to vote together at all. So having that automatically keeps focus elsewhere. And generally, I think we go into this tribal unsure what was really going to happen. Even though they haven't given Jenna the best edit, I was still kind of like, okay, maybe this Ozzy thing could actually happen. There are roads where I could see them going in this direction, where it seems like they're kind of conflicted on what actually is going to happen at Tribal. And then we get to Tribal, and things are a lot more straightforward, I think, than we expected for that to be. Basically, Ozzy talks about how when you play as much as he has, you have to examine the game you played. He wants to play the game that is more mature and has solid connections with everybody, so Tribal becomes a bit easier. Joe then talks about how Kyle and Camilla gave him a wedge. We see that Christian is not convinced that anyone will come in with a clean slate when there is just too much history. There's a very large focus this entire Tribal Council, though, really on Jenna. They talk about like her first tribal, and we even see like BB being voted out and things like that. There's this music playing the entire time that's like very reminiscent of the old Survivor music.
The OG voting music.
Yeah, I think it was pretty clear like what was going to happen here with the way they were setting things up, because it does end up being a relatively straightforward vote, nearly unanimous vote, actually, for Jenna being the first person.
It was 7-1. Yeah.
Yeah, it is unanimous votes for Jenna here, and they all stand up in her honor as she leaves, and she has a very like backhanded retrospective.
Oh, she was salty as fuck, and I loved it.
She's like, this absolutely sucks. She came out, she played, aggressively, but it has to do with the right people, and she's hoping now they lose every single challenge. And Mike, just quick thoughts on what happened here. How did this happen with Jenna?
Well, not only that, but like when they stood up to like give her a hug, she's like, "Oh, that's cute." She said like, something, "Oh,
Yeah,
you're
she was
standing
not
now."
feeling it at
Like
all.
and you know what though? After having to sit through like the new era, like I'm sorry, I don't buy these people who get voted out and they're like, "All right, it's all good game." No,
Right.
you're trying to do that so you don't get dragged on social media for being bitter. It's so nice to see somebody like actually be mad for once. Like we've seen, like and that's just something that we haven't gotten a lot of in the new era. Like I think like some people like Kelly in 45 comes to mind. You know, there's been a few that you could tell they're salty, but to see somebody who's actually that salty, it's cool to see. But no, I mean, nothing about what Jenna did surprised me because we saw this in her, like Jenna in Borneo. Nobody knew what the game was going to be. Like unless you're Richard Hatch, like no one knew what the game was going to be. And even rewatching Borneo now at this stage, and the times I have rewatched it, the main story of Borneo for me is seeing the foundation of what Survivor is being created from these 16 people landing on an island, thinking, most of them just thinking like, oh, this is going to be, a fun experience and we're going to build shelters and fish and do challenges, I mean, and you have the Tagi tribe starting off, with Richard. I don't know if we're really going to go full throttle here, but like Richard, knowing what the game is, building an alliance, and then by the end you get to the merge, you really see like, oh, this is actually a social game. This is actually, not just who's the best camper, who's the best, fisherman, who's the nicest. And there was even a quote at the end where Jeff said, oh, if we were voting, whatever regard your vote, if we were voting on the best outdoors person, this person would win. If we were voting for the nicest, this person would win. So it's the story of seeing the game really become the game. So it's like I never fault anybody on that season for not actually playing because like nobody knew what they were doing. So then you see Jenna. So then you see Jenna come back in All Stars and she's a lot more aggressive. Like right out of the gate, one of the first confessions of the season is she's like, if you've won $1 million, you got to go.
Yeah.
So it's just seeing her trajectory of being like the nice single mom on the first season, crying because she was the only one who didn't get a video sent from home. And, her edit mostly was like, I'm a single mom and people complaining that she talked too much. So, to then going into All Stars where she was kind of more or less kind of running her tribe. The original Saboga tribe, to then kind of, falling into the alliance with Rob and Amber and Rupert and being in the group that really ran that game. And to the point where if she had gotten to the end against, the right person, she probably wins. So.
Yeah, I think Jenna, something I noticed from her immediately on Borneo is that, you have all these players who don't really know how to play the game. That's not really the case with Jenna. She is very social. She's making the connections that she needs to. There are roads in which I think Jenna could have potentially won Borneo because of just how likable and endearing she was, how she was someone that people felt very drawn to. I think that, she played a game in which it was basically all social. And it seems like after that game, she feels like I needed to be more cutthroat. And she was in All Stars and it worked out for her. But I think what she needed to recognize is that a lot of time has passed since she has played. And what worked in All Stars coming off of a season where, you had only played a few seasons ago isn't really going to work in a season where you haven't played for years and you don't have like as solid of connections and things like that. So I really think what Jenna needed to do was kind of just like get a vibe of what her tribe was doing, see where the cracks are, and then you can start pushing things. I think the problem with her is that she tried to push things before she really insulated herself. And I think it just put her in like such a shitty spot that she really just couldn't get out of.
Yeah. And the problem is in Borneo, it's like she didn't know, no one knew like, oh, I'm playing a social game. I'm playing a strategic game. It was like most of the cast, they were just on the island doing challenges. And, people didn't like building an alliance was considered cheating in Borneo, so it was just, people didn't know what they didn't know. So it's like no one really knew I played a shit game or I played a good game. So I think when you saw her come back, it's like they saw how the game was evolving and they tried to adapt to it that way. I think you saw the same thing here. It's these old school players, saw how the game changed from the last time they played. They tried to adapt. She tried to adapt to it. I think she overcompensated like a lot for it. So.
Yeah, it just didn't really quite end up working out for her. But the big thing here is that even though we have a tribal, that's not how this episode ends. We still have a good 30 minutes of this challenge and of this episode that we are going to talk about here. And we find out why towards the end. But I think for a while we were kind of like, why is this still going? I'm wondering what's going to happen here. We see in Vatu that Kyle is talking about how he's, actually slowly getting used to walking on his heel. And is motivated by the fact he's playing the perfect game right now. And then while walking through the woods, Genevieve, so basically, he's unsure, he feels like he's in a good spot. Like he knows that he has this injury, but he doesn't want to let that, hinder his game and things like that. Cause he is like really in a crushing position at this point.
Literally.
And so we get this moment then of walking through the woods. Genevieve finds this idol, and it's known as the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. And I know that we all laughed at this in the trailer and things like that. Listen, I'm a big Billie Eilish fan. I have zero idea why they decided to include her in this.
Do you think she even knows?
She knows about Survivor. Like, she's a fan of Survivor. And I know this because, like, my best friend has told me that she's a fan of Survivor. But do I think that she knows that they implemented this? I mean, I feel like it's one of two things. Either they wanted to get her and she just couldn't because she was busy, or they contacted her and she just didn't respond. And they're like, all right, throw that in there. And she's in.
I was going to say, like, have her come out of a bush or something. Like, shit.
Right. Like, this feels so unceremonious. Like, you have Billie Eilish here. We know that fucking Mr. Beast is going to show up. Like, why couldn't you have just had Billie Eilish just show up and be like, hey, it's Billie Eilish. Here's the idol. Like, it would have been really funny to see. Obviously, yeah, people are going to wonder why you're talking to Billie Eilish, but like, I think it would have made it more entertaining if they did it that way. So I don't know. I
mean, and again, like celebrities, it's nothing new. We had the fucking Tyler Perry idol in Pagyan.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is nothing new. So for me, I'm kind of like, all right, they've always done stupid celebrity stuff. So like, it didn't bother me. The advantage itself, though, especially on a returnee season, I actually like how this idol works.
Yes, I was going to say, the advantage itself, I think, is actually really cool because basically she is to send this idol over to someone on another tribe. But if they're voted out with the idol, basically it gets sent right back to her. So this is essentially like a blessing and a curse, because it's like you get this thing, but you also could be like, setting up somebody's demise, and they will have no idea of knowing that, because to them, it just seems like a real idol. And I think this was a really good thing for Genevieve, because she goes to Stephanie and Kyle. She kind of talks to them about it. They bring up options like Rick and Jonathan and Tiffany. But she feels like Ozzy is the best person for this because of the fact that, well, Ozzy's done this before on another season. And so there's a very good possibility he could do something like this again. And so, Ozzy gets it. He finds Boomerang Idol. He's pretty overjoyed about it. He doesn't realize like what it actually means. Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a lot of fun. I'm very excited to see where this is going to go moving forward, because I generally don't know if she's going to get this idol sent back to her. I don't know if she's going to be able to get the person voted out that she wants to get voted out, but it's going to be exciting to see how this plays out. So yeah, I thought the power itself was really cool, the way they did it. We also do get a moment on CeeLo where Rick kind of talks about how he's kind of over Ozzy shit already. He feels like Ozzy is trying way too hard to provide for everyone. It feels way too old school to him. He's not a fan of it. So he's ready to vote Ozzy out pretty much at any point. So Ozzy's not in as great of a spot as I think he thinks he is. So we'll see how things do go for him.
Yeah, and again, it shows how the game's changed now, because it's like,
exactly,
we don't care that you're getting fish. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
So back to the advantage. I like these though, as opposed to like some of these advantages that they've introduced in the new era that just fundamentally don't work. like, the hourglass. Like, I like this because there's different ways you can handle it. It's like I could give it to an ally to protect them. I could give it to somebody to put a target on them. I like what advantages. If you're gonna put them in, have them be something that requires like more nuance and strategy to it, as opposed to just mindless, like I'm just gonna get that and be, whatever. So I liked this one though, regardless of how stupid the name is.
Yeah, no, I think the name definitely needed some workshopping, but I think the advantage itself is pretty cool. Now the rest of this episode focus on a couple things, such as this journey where basically Mike, Savannah, and Colby are sent on this journey, which, is never anyone's favorite part of the episode. But I thought this one was actually kind of cool what they did, because Mike is excited for the opportunity, just because, again, he's never gotten to do one. So why not try it out? We do get a little moment where Coach is informed that Ozzy's like really pushing
my God,
what he did, and he's really upset about this. And Mike kind of learns how messy of a player that he can actually be, because of the fact that like he's trying to make it seem like Ozzy was in the wrong, but he doesn't actually know what actually went down. So we'll talk more about that when we get to episode 2, but definitely not great for Coach. So they're told that only 2 of them are going to be able to compete in this challenge. So they draw rocks, and it ends up landing on Colby and Savannah, who she doesn't really feel confident that she's going to beat him. And then she does. She completely annihilates him.
Well, like they're playing a freaking like backyard, which like, okay, I guess it's kind of cute, I guess, but like I freaking played this thing with my nephew.
Those pieces were huge. Like it was like,
yeah, well, the pieces were huge, but this is just a stupid Tetris game.
Yeah.
Like, and Mike White, I want to go on the journey so bad, goes for like 5 minutes. The humor of that is not lost.
I know, yeah, that was very funny.
But kind of like old school Challenge Beast versus a modern day, Challenge Beast was fun to see, even though the game was kind of a silly little game. But
exactly.
I was fine with it. But again, we're back to people losing votes thing. It's just I don't know. I just don't feel like it doesn't make for interesting. It doesn't make for interesting tribals.
Yeah, it's not needed at all.
No.
So she gets this scroll, and basically she's told that she's going to get a dynamic advantage. It's going to be a secret block of votes, and I wonder how that's going to play in a role into the show. I don't know.
Well, this is what I was talking about earlier. It's like the fans voted for the type of advantages. I didn't know what the fuck any of this meant. Like dynamic, whatever the hell the other ones were. Like I don't know what the fuck that means. Like
I think from what I remember, it said something along the lines of like, do you want a back to basic season, or do you want like crazy advantages? Was like basically what it said.
But she said 3 options when she read the paper.
Yeah.
So it's like you either have no advantages or like moderately powered, or like the wordings were stupid. And like what the hell? I don't know. This one was weird. And
what's a dynamic advantage as opposed to like a regular advantage?
Exactly, but she gets the block
vote. Like if it's
which I mean, that's to me, that's kind of on the lesser scale. Yeah, that's kind of on like if we were to like power scale these things, it's kind of on the lower end, because it's like only swings 1 vote one way versus like a steal a vote or something. Like at least then that's like a +1. I don't know, but
exactly,
little bit of an underwhelming power, but
no, definitely, yeah. So I mean, we'll talk about how this all goes down later on and things like that. Now she does make a pretty big mistake here in going to her tribe and basically lying to them about what she did. She has very little trust in them, and they see through it right away. Pretty much all of them suspect that she got something. There's no way she didn't get it if she won the challenge. I think she honestly should have just said that she lost.
She did not play this well.
Yeah,
at all.
Would have been way better for her to just be like, yeah, Colby won as you suspected, and he has something, and we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I think that would have just been, and it's believable too. Like if you're going against Colby, it's like, well, Colby's gonna win. People are gonna suspect that Colby's gonna win. So it's like just lie about what the challenge was. And I think that this would have been like the perfect opportunity for her to do so, but really just not great for Savannah at all here.
Yeah, and it's a rare misplay from her because she was so in 49, she was very like calculating. It always seemed like in control of things and was very analytical. Yeah, not a good. It's like I kind of get the coming back and wanting to be like, I won.
I think that's very much what it is. I think it's the fact that she had just played and now she's like literally diving right back into it. Like,
I'm saying like oh, I won the challenge and I'm excited. I just beat a legend.
Yeah.
Wanting to come back and brag about that.
Yeah.
But if you went with honesty with the I won my season thing, I guess why would you then pivot off of that and be like, because again, it's not like you had an idol or some big game breaking power.
Right.
Like it's a block of vote. It's really not like I would just be okay, whatever. It's not really a game breaking power. So it just felt unnecessary for me from her. But.
Yeah, I feel like if you're gonna lie, like just full sail it. Like full sail it. Don't try to do this like half lie shit where it's like I won, but I didn't get anything like that. That's just there's no scenario where I'm gonna believe that.
Yeah, well, there's no precedent for that in the new era. Like everybody who won, you either come back from a journey with no vote or you won something.
Yeah. And like you obviously 50's doing some different stuff, but it's not going to be that different. So
no.
So
not a good move from Savannah here, but
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Exactly. Only other thing to talk about before we get to, unfortunately, the sad thing we have to talk about at the end of this episode. We do get this moment where Mike basically tells Coach that, hey, what you're doing, you're being scrutinized for it, and he takes this like completely the wrong way. He thinks that Ozzy like threw him under the bus and he feels like they're all the way back to square one. He wants to be a man of his word and things like that, but he feels that his currency has now been devalued and that no one is going to believe that he's playing an honest game. And listen, Coach, you can do whatever you want. You can do literally everything right. I don't think a single soul is going to think that you're actually playing like an honest game. Like, I think that's absurd to even believe that that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like I said before, Coach gets to the point where it's time to own it. He just can't do it or won't do it. I don't know what it is. But this is it's so damn funny. It's just so funny. And for a season it's kind of like knocked in the fan base of South Pacific, to have that season be like such a heavy presence on this one in the storylines is really funny. Like, I personally like South Pacific. I mean, I get why people don't. But to see like their story still playing out here, this is why I love returning seasons, because you get to see players you never saw interact before, and then seeing storylines continue. This like rivalry from 15 years ago still playing out it's hilarious. And coach is still Coach. Just
exactly, for sure. So so that we do get that moment, and then we this entire time, I think we're wondering why this episode is still kind of going on. It kind of feels like a completely different episode. And then unfortunately we find out why that is, because we see Vatu, they're bonding, and this boat pulls up and it's like, oh shit, we know what is about to happen. Basically they're told they're going to have to step away. And the doctor kind of lets Kyle know that, while at first it seemed like he was going to be okay, he was going to be able to still compete. Unfortunately, he has ruptured his Achilles tendon and, could ruin his ability to walk. And, you get this moment with Kyle where he has this moment where he's just like, he can't believe the fact that he's actually going to be pulled from the game. He tries to do everything he possibly can to stay. He tries to do what he can to negotiate with them and just kind of talk about the fact that, like, hey, listen, like, what are the actual, like, what's the danger of me staying here? And you can just see how much he doesn't want to have to do it, and just seeing him, like, slowly accept his fate and things like that. It's just fucking devastating to watch. And look, like I said, we've seen a lot of medevacs in Survivor, especially recently. This is by far, I think, one of the saddest we've seen. Kyle was so well set up in this season. Generally, like, I think he would have made such a deep run. I think he does outlast all the winners. I think he ends up potentially maybe even winning again with how well set up he really was on this season. And, to see anybody get pulled early from the game is always sad to see. But to see someone like Kyle, who, he, to their knowledge, was like the winner that they knew, the winner that they saw, and things like that. And he was, so well set up. He knew the game that he was trying to play. My heart just really broke for him here, man. It was just really sad to see. And yeah, I mean, like I said, we all knew that this was coming. This was like, unfortunately, like the one spoiler that was like pretty much publicly known. Kyle posted something in like a hospital and things like that. So we all knew that eventually this was going to happen. But still, was not prepared for how quick it was all going to go down. And, Genevieve's really devastated here. We see Q's really devastated. It's just a really saddening moment to end things on. I get why they had to end the episode this way, though, because, this is a situation that came up. It was very much something that you can tell. I think even they were trying to find ways for him to stay, and it just wasn't really in the cards. And yeah, it's just really sad to see. I mean, I really hope that Kyle's able to return at some point. I hope that we're able to see him play again, because he really does show that even though he won his season, we have not seen the best of Kyle yet. There's still so much more he has to bring to the table. And so I really do hope he's able to get that shot again in a future season. But it's just really sad to see how this all went down. Mike, what do you want to say about how
it definitely is a gut punch, and it's like it's such a somber, and I get that you have to kind of end it this way.
Yeah, I don't think they had a choice. Like I saw
it's either you end it this way or you start next week with it.
Right, like I saw some people say, why didn't they just start episode 2 this way? I just feel like, you already showed him get injured and things like that. It kind of just makes sense to unfortunately end on this note.
And it's sad because, he was playing so well, but it's also too, it's like Kyle just seems like a good dude. And the problem is now it's like, if Kyle comes back a third time, he's fucked on site, because it's like you won and then you were set up so well on a like returning player season. So it's like, if he comes back, he's in for tough road. But just like anytime you say, because it's one thing if it's like a Caleb where like they're literally like dying on the ground. It's like, okay, I get that. But when it's like kind of a case where like, we don't really see how bad it is with them. Like obviously
it's all like inside. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like an Achilles injury, like that's serious shit right there.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, he looks fine and he's like limping around a bit, but then it's like, oh damn, it's like really that serious, and then you see the other players, how it affects them. And I think this might be the first medevac on a all returning season. I know we've seen Jenna and Terry like have to be like removed for like family emergencies, but like I don't think we've ever seen a returning player medevac before. I could be wrong on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, we have. But in then it's.
I was gonna say there's one immediately I'm thinking of that
Penner and Micronesia, James. So there's been other cases of that, but it's sad to see, because you get, as a fan, you get attached to these people. We watch them, and then we see their journey, and then we follow them on social media, and the players that we whether we love them or hate them, it's sad to see it happen to anybody, especially someone who really does seem like just a good dude.
Yeah, it's just really heartbreaking to see, especially again, even taking away the fact that he was so well set up and I think was going to make a really deep run, just to see Kyle's devastation. I mean, you could see how much he wanted to stay. He tried so hard to like not have to do that, but he knew eventually he had to. And it just just how much of a nice guy he is, and how the passion he has for this game. Like you really just felt it so much in that moment. So it's probably one of the most gut wrenching of the medevacs I think I've seen on Survivor for sure. So
yeah, I mean it definitely beats getting bit by a snake.
Oh yeah, that was
season, but it's sad to see, and then I don't want to, but then you kind of wonder like it's that, and then you see everyone else's reaction to it, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, unfortunately, that's how the episode ends. Again, I really don't think they had a choice here. I think if you start off with this next week, it doesn't get the impact that it needs. I think ending the episode on this note, it just kind of makes sense to do that.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but if you start next week with it, then that cloud's just kind of hanging over the rest of the episode.
It's like, why are we even going to tribal if like
at least with this, it's like you do it. I don't want to say you get out of the way, but then you kind of have like a time to like decompress. But in this episode really was a roller coaster.
It was,
you know, in the best way possible. You know, you had this like amazing epic beginning. You know, you had like seeing these players play, and then you know, like typical chaos of like, you know, the vote and Jenna getting voted out, and then this like kind of downer at the end. Like, you know, this episode really had everything.
Yeah, it really did. And I think, like I said, that's why it's probably my favorite Survivor premiere that I've seen. I think, you have this really saddening moment, but you also have like the crazy shit with Ozzy and Coach. You also have Jenna just being a mess and getting voted out first as a result of that. You get a moment really from everybody. And I think we're really well set up for, I think, a really great season. You know, am I a little bit concerned about some of the advantages, how dynamic these advantages are going to be? How do they impact the game? Sure, but, you know, the level of caliber of play that we have here, I feel like we're in really good hands. And I generally, like, I completely get just from this season alone why people have been so down on like the new era of Survivor, because you really do feel like there's this genuine momentum and this thrill to this premiere that we just haven't seen in a very long time. And I just really enjoyed watching it through and through. So
yeah, and I'm not as down on the new era as much as some people are.
I don't think I can be. It's the only
yeah. I mean, I personally think there's a lot to like it, and anybody who's gonna ever say that there's been no good new era season's a liar.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with like the new era is when they just don't let, like, I think one thing they fail to realize sometimes is like this show lives and dies by the cast. And when you handcuff them, and like the reason Survivor works is because you can run this game a million seasons and everyone's going to be different. You'll never get anything that's the same way, because you have different personalities, different dynamics, different people. And when you kind of handcuff them, whether it's like, you know, no one gets to vote, we're going to, you know, have a million advantages and do that, and we're going to try to like force the season to go in a direction that it may not have gone in. I think if you just let the players play, and, you know, obviously you're going to still have your idols and your extra votes and all that, I think you can still have that. But when you meddle too much in things is when you kind of lose what makes the show work and why we are able to have a 50th season.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this premiere perfectly encapsulates that, where it's like you have so many different eras of gameplay, so many different styles. Jeff says something about 24 different approaches, and I don't know about all that, but what I do know is that there's a bunch of different types of gameplay here. There's a bunch of different people from, you know, different eras, different seasons they've been together, and I think just in general, like we're in for a really great ride. So yeah, that's pretty much the premiere. I was going to take this time to kind of recap Jenna's journey, but we've kind of already done that. So I don't think that part is as necessary. I think we're going to just wait.
I mean, we didn't mention she was the first person to eat a rat, you know.
That's that's true. Very, very important.
You know,
very important,
so, but,
and also talk about, you know, what parts of the rat are edible and things like that. Can't
exactly
forget that. And then of course we have to mention, because this was like a huge storyline in Borneo, though, the whole thing with like not getting anything from her family and then finally getting something from her family. Like, again, Jenna, I think, is one of the best characters in Borneo. I think she's someone you feel drawn to in a season where her entire tribe are basically all duds because they have no idea what the fuck they're doing.
But again, though, it's tough though, because you can't say they don't know what they're doing, because it's like you don't know what you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You know, the Pagong tribe at the first tribal council they went to voted out Jeff Probst for the first time they voted. Exactly. Like they just weren't there for that, and it's like you can't fault them for that.
Right.
You know, and like when you watch Borneo back, it's like you have the pre-merge, you know, and then you get to, you know, the Gretchen vote where Gretchen gets voted out. I mean, the fucking tribal was, again, I'm spoiling things for you, but you know, hey, it's fine. The vote count the vote count of the Gretchen tribal was 4 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1.
Yeah.
Like there was no talk. Like people just wanted to vote with their conscience.
Mhm.
And when you get to the jury confessionals before the final tribal, Jenna says like, "Oh, I can't even lie. I couldn't play this game the way they did. I can't even I'm not even a liar. I can't lie at all." So it's like you would see the Pagong tribe were kind of like the innocent people, quote unquote. Your Colleens and your Gregs who just like
Yeah.
weren't really there to manipulate and backstab. They were just there
Mhm.
for the experience. And then, I
Oh, yeah.
think the reason why I love the season so much is,
And you got
the
Sean with, like, the alphabetical boot list.
yeah, because the same thing. It's like,
Right.
he didn't want to like backstab and hurt people and figure
Yeah.
that was the best way to do it.
Very anti-alliance, yeah.
Yeah, very anti, backstabbing. And I think I know this is going to turn into a Borneo review, but the person who really encapsulates the storyline of that season is Kelly,
Yeah.
because for the first half, when the alliance, she's like, "Oh, well, they're stupid not doing what we're doing, and I don't care. I'm not here to make friends." And as the season goes on, she's kind of like, "Oh shit, I'm actually like really devastating people here. I don't want to do that, but now I've kind of made this deal with the devil, and I can't get out." And then how that played out in Final Tribal
Yeah.
Council, like it's a very interesting season when you watch it and you just take it for what it is. If you're watching it expecting dynamic gameplay and blind sides and this and that, you will not like it.
Yeah, and
But
what you kind of see, I think, in Borneo that I found really interesting is, again, just the dichotomy between those that don't want to play the game and Richard and Kelly, who are
yeah,
actively playing the game just in
well,
different
because
ways.
it's not even I don't want to play the game. It's I don't even think this is a game.
Right.
And you really see the
Right. Like,
Tagi.
they don't understand it yet.
Yeah, and seeing the Tagi 4 really do that, and then even the Pagong tribe trying to catch up to, like, once Gretchen's out, you see Jenna and Colleen try to make an alliance and try to do something, but by then it's kind of too late. And then you would see them trying to flip Kelly, but now we can't vote Richard out because he won immunity. Like, you see like the foundation of the game start to be built as you
Exactly.
get through the merge. So it's interesting when you watch it for that, of it going from this fun wilderness show, like where the first few episodes are just like building the shelter and doing this, and then by the end it's like I think the person who put it best was Sean at Final Tribal, where it's like this went from a contest of who's the best survivalist to who's the least objectionable person at the end of it. So
No, really.
it's an interesting
Yeah.
thing, and there's no other season like it. And for me, it's
Yeah. And I
one
think
of the
that's
favorites.
why Jenna is such an interesting player, because like one season she's kind of just like the nice girl who doesn't piss anybody off, but also is like I would say she's still playing the game. I wouldn't say she's not playing the game. I think she has, a little bit better of a idea of what she's doing. She seems like a genuine threat. She's somebody that, is one of the more competent people on like her tribe and things like that. But then you go to All Stars and she's just kind of like guns blazing. And then, like I said, this season it seems like she tried to do the same thing and it just didn't work. So I think Jenna just had to find, like, as a player, she needs to find that medium. I don't think she's ever playing again after this. I really
I
don't.
would love to have her back. I think I think she got too caught up
Yeah,
in the I have to prove that old school people can play the game.
right.
I think she got too caught up in
Yeah,
that, as opposed to like feeling things out, like you said, getting her footing more. I think
and
she
I
got
think
too.
yeah,
I think she came in with the I got to show these kids that
yeah.
us old schoolers can hang,
Mhm.
and shot herself in the foot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that her goal is a fine goal to have, but there was a perfect way to do that, and she just went in exactly the wrong direction. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed watching her on Borneo. I was really excited to see how she was going to do here, and unfortunately, it just didn't quite end up working out. So
Broke my heart.
yeah, that's Jenna, and that's pretty much this video. So yeah, as I said, we were planning to talk about episode 2. I have not finished episode 2 yet. I have too much other shit going on that I have not been able to get around to it. So we're gonna meet back up tomorrow to talk about episode 2, and and at the end of that, you will also find out what player we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about Colby tomorrow, so I'm excited to get into that. There's a lot of Colby stuff I have not seen yet. So
I get to talk about all the old people. So
pretty much, yeah. So excited to see how that all goes down. And Mike, if you want to plug anything that people might be interested in.
I have nothing. Thanks for having me. I don't
Yeah.
do anything, so
Chocolate milk.
I like chocolate milk. Yes,
You do like chocolate milk, yes. We do have
Yes.
to mention that. But yeah,
Paradox season 3 org apps opening
yes.
soon. Apply.
Yes, great game. If you like Big Brother, definitely play.
We're the best Big Brother org ever, and it's not just me saying it; other people say it.
Yes. It's
Or Orgo Drama said it.
Okay, if Orgo Drama said it, it has to be true. So.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think, for me, I have other videos coming out very soon. I did do a video recapping the rest of Big Brother 27, Survivor 48, and Survivor 49. I just haven't had a chance to put that video out yet. I got some other shows I'm trying to catch up on, as well as a plethora of other movie and shows. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely consider checking my content, as well as subscribing to my channel. I'd love to be part of all of that. But other than that, guys, for this video, hope you guys enjoyed it. And we will see you guys later. Okay, bye.